Welcome to Sometimes Love Isn't Enough, the Parenting Through Challenges podcast. I'm your host, Angie Grandt. And as I've been reflecting on where we are today, what is happening around me, and how I want to support you, I actually want to go back to the roots of what started me on this path of being a podcast host, being a coach. And so when I first started working with my very first mentor, she took us through this beautiful series of lessons. I have since modified many of the elements from these lessons and use it in my parent coaching. But I find the very first lesson to be something that requires revisiting often. And that's the idea of creating a vision. So prior to working with a coach several years ago, I'd heard of vision boards, and obviously I think about and imagine things in the future that I want to have happen. But I can honestly say that more often than not, my mind, especially then, but still now, puts more energy into imagining the worst, imagining that this won't work out or that won't work out, or I won't have enough money, or I won't have enough energy or enough time, or other people won't respond the way that I want them to, whatever it might be. And this applies in all areas of life. I think about business, right? So I'm a coach. I offer local workshops where I'm at here in southern Wisconsin. And filling my workshops has been especially hard. And my mind imagines, worries about not filling my workshops. And it's not that I care about the money so much. I mean, yeah, money's nice, but it's more about I I've created this thing and I want to share it with people. And then when people don't show up, it feels like a reflection of me, of my value, of my ability to attract into my life or my business the people who I'm here to serve. And so then that becomes this spiral of thoughts of maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not offering the right thing. Maybe I'm not marketing good enough. Maybe I can't do this. Maybe I need to just throw in the towel. This is what our mind does. It protects us as it's designed to. Our mind has this beautiful and yet so frustrating way of getting stuck in loops. And I say beautiful because those loops can be so powerful when they're aligned with what you're seeking. And yet they can be the one thing that gets us off track or keeps us off track or stops us from ever even getting on track in the first place. So that's what I want to talk about today is how do we break that loop to work with what our mind is capable of, but not allow it to run its default pattern the way that it's designed. We all were equipped with this ability to have an experience or have a thought, and our mind just quickly makes that the episode that runs over and over and over again. I think about it like this probably is going to date me, but I remember sharing recently this analogy that when we're stuck in a loop, it's kind of like we put a CD in our CD player and hit that repeat button, and it'll just repeat the same song over and over and over and over again. And what my goal for this episode is to either, hit that replay button to turn it off or to actually pop in a whole new CD, which depends on, where you're at with your imagination, with your creativity. I don't get to decide that for you, but I'm going to remind you or share with you some insights about ways to get that same episode off of repeat if it isn't serving your bigger goal. So, what I want to talk about is this idea of creating a vision that is aligned with you and what you want in life. And so, for myself, at least, in the way that I was trained, I encourage you to write down all of the different areas of your life. You have your relationship with yourself. Maybe you have a partner or spouse in your life. You might have kids or grandkids, extended family, maybe your own parents. Write down these different relationships that are an important part of your life. Then there's career. Maybe you have a side business or you're building your side business into a career. Then there's your spirituality and how you connect with something bigger than you. Another area might be your physical fitness or wellness, your emotional well-being. Maybe it's about finances and how you're bringing in money. And of course, there can be so many other categories, but these are just a few that actually in my complimentary consult, my connection clarity call, as I call it, this is an exercise that I go through with potential clients, is I walk them through a variety of aspects of life to get a better sense of where you're at and where you want to be. So, in this vision that you're creating for yourself here today, if you so choose to take my challenge, I encourage you to first write out all of these different areas. And then I encourage you to pick the most pressing area. Maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's your career, maybe it's money. Pick the area that is causing you currently the most distress or the most disconnect. And my challenge for you is to, over the next several days, maybe even until the next episode airs, I really encourage you to write down, imagine, dream, really feel into what you want that area of your life to look like. But there's a catch. I want you to consider expanding what you think is possible. I want you to consider expanding what you see as being possible in your current life. So if, for example, in your current relationship, maybe your first inkling is that you want less fighting with your partner. Maybe you want to be able to come home and just do your own thing and not have a fight with them. That's nice. It feels good, right? To not walk into tension. And for sure, that would probably be a first step. But I really want you to take out of the equation your past experiences with that person and perhaps call in ideas or experiences that you've had in other relationships or that you've seen other people experience. I want you to use all of your senses and really imagine the best scenario for you, something that feels aligned with you, with what you need in a relationship. So even if your current partner has never perhaps, I don't know, brought you a gift spontaneously, but if that's something that matters to you, I really encourage you to put that on your vision. To envision feeling the way you want to feel in your relationship, smelling the things you want to smell in your relationship, seeing, touching, feeling, having a emotional connection with the things that matter most to you. And I picked a relationship as my example here. These relationships can be the very hardest to put into our vision Because here's why. We don't have control over other people ever. We can tell them what we want. We can tell them what matters to us, but we only have control over our own thoughts, feelings, and actions. And so my reason for having you write down this vision about what you want in a relationship is because currently, if you are currently stuck in this thought loop that they never do nice things for me, they've never brought me a gift, or they've never cooked me a meal, or they never ask how my day was, or they never give me a kiss when they come home. If this is the current thought loop that you have on repeat, then research shows us that our thoughts create our feelings, right? And so if we have on this thought loop, they never do this, they never do that, then our feelings are inevitably going to be that of disconnect, perhaps snarkiness, perhaps, well, that's an action, perhaps feeling unlovable or feeling unworthy, or perhaps just feeling jaded or fed up or feeling like you're ready to throw in the towel. But those feelings aren't based on their behavior, although it seems like it, right? It's easy to tell that story that the feelings that we have on repeat are based on them. But that actually isn't true. The feelings that we have are always based on our thoughts about them. Thoughts first, not them. So when we, and then let me just finish out that string. So when we're thinking, they never do this, they never do that, they never, fill in the blank. And then we then create these feelings in our body of feeling disappointed and rejected and all of the things I said before, then our actions also are in alignment with that. It is not natural, not normal for us to have a negative thought and keep that negative thought and flip that to a positive feeling or flip that to a positive action. It requires us to change the whole sequence for ourselves. Our happiness never requires the other person to change. It requires us to change. And so when we're thinking about this vision of what we want our life to be, it first starts with that thought. What do we believe could be possible for us in our relationship? And I say this, and I am well aware that our minds will quickly go to, yeah, but he's never going to do that, or she would never do that for me. They just aren't built that way. They've never done it. They're never going to, right? That negative thought loop will ensure that you continue to show up the way that you do, which then fuels this possibility of never. And when I'm suggesting that you create a vision of what matters to you, it's important to focus more on your senses and less on perhaps the actual details of the thing, right? If you, in your vision, decide that every Thursday at 6 p.m., he's going to come home and give you a kiss, well, that might be hard because we can't control them. But if your vision is about when she comes home, that you want to feel this love in your heart and you want to feel appreciated and you want to, smell the smells that make you happy, which might be home cooked food or might be, roses. When you create that vision, then you're taking full responsibility for your happiness in that relationship. Versus when you're allowing your brain to run on repeat the way that it's designed, you're letting nature kind of run the show. And nature is designed to keep you safe. Except the problem is that our nature, our wiring, which is designed to keep us safe, doesn't understand the nuances of relationships. It doesn't understand that, here in 2026, in, wherever you're listening from this, I'm in the Midwest, but right, I'm not in danger of a tiger attacking my family. At least I can't even imagine that possibility. Yet our brain is wired to divert to safety whenever it perceives a threat. But that threat could be anything. It could be a threat to our survival, but it could also be a threat to our feeling stable in our home. It could be a threat to us feeling loved or valued for who we are. And so, what you're experiencing, if you're having struggles in any area of your life, what you're experiencing is totally normal. And you have way more control over it than you currently perhaps can see. So, this is my challenge for you this week is to create a pocket of time for yourself. Create a pocket where you can shut out outside distractions. So if you have a chaotic home, it might mean at your lunch break at work, or it might mean scheduling some time for yourself to go to the park on Saturday morning. But creating time for yourself, if you are ready to get out of this loop of repeat of frustration and overwhelm and feeling misaligned, dissatisfied, maybe even frustrated with what's happening in life. And while you take that time to pick that area that matters to you most, but maybe pick a couple of areas and allow yourself to dream, put yourself in other people's shoes. Imagine what you want to feel like in that area of your life. Imagine the things happening that you're visioning and allow yourself to feel what it feels like in your body when that happens. I think about imagining how it feels for me to have a full workshop and how just full of love and accomplishment and pride and giving, how that feels to me. It feels amazing. So we first have to decide what it is that matters to us. We have to decide that we're willing to consider that more is possible than we have been allowing in our mind before. Because we all tell those stories that, yeah, but that's for somebody else. Yeah, but that's for people in a happy relationship. Yeah, but that's for people who have figured out business. Yeah, but that's for people who, have a college degree. That isn't ever true. Those that are happy in life, that have what they want in life, made a decision that they were going to cut off other possibilities. Those that are getting what they want in life have decided that they're not willing to settle for their brain being stuck on repeat for those things that matter most and have instead put a vision of what they want on repeat. We all have that possibility. You have that possibility. But it does require you to decide that you deserve it. And I know that you do. It does require you to decide that you're willing to do this relatively simple activity. It will seem like it's pointless, perhaps, but it is when you're stuck in any area of your life, this really is a necessary step to break that loop. So you have to decide that you're willing to do it. You have to decide that you deserve it. And you do. Every single one of us deserves to have what we want, but we're dragging along these old stories that convince us that we don't. So that's your challenge. Create a vision. If you need images to go with it, do what works for you, but create a vision about what you want. Create a vision that feels impossible today, but there's a tiny bit of you that believes that, well, maybe what if that really did happen for me? What if I really could create that? How amazing would that feel? Even if it feels mostly impossible, that's the space we want to be in. We want to be in that space of this feeling mostly impossible, but a tiny part of you is like, yeah, but wouldn't that be the best? So if you are stuck and you're not sure how to create this vision for yourself, this is a huge part of the work that I do with my clients, and I would love to support you along this path. As always, I would love to connect with you through a connection clarity call. I want you to reach for what you deserve in this life. And if I can help you along that path, I would love that. Until next time, happy connecting.